the game that I'm looking most forward to tomorrow, the Iron Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
In Jordan-Hare. Number 8 Alabama versus Auburn. Can I give you a stat that I've been giving out throughout the week here on BetQL on my show, Send It In? I think it is such a good stat. It speaks to how difficult it is to win in Auburn, especially when Alabama is big favorites. This is the 4th time Nick Saban brings in an undefeated Alabama team in SEC play, right? They lost to Texas, but they're undefeated in SEC play, though. 4th time he has an Alabama team undefeated in SEC play, playing at Jordan-Hare in the Iron Bowl. The other 3 teams to fit that, 1 and 2 straight up. The only team that won was back in 2009 when Bama was trailing 21-20. They were the number 2 team in the country. Auburn was unranked, and they needed that final drive from Greg McElroy to Roy Upchurch in the end zone for the touchdown. That's their only win. Very easily could be 0-3. This is just one of those places Saban he always struggles. It just, Bama, for whatever reason, it just never seems like they're fully prepared in this game. They make a lot of mistakes. The crowd really bothers them. And the worst thing that could have happened for them, Ryan, the worst thing heading into this game was Auburn losing outright to New Mexico State. That is the worst thing that could have happened, because now maybe you're just a little more complacent. Maybe you're thinking Auburn's not as good as you originally did. But Hugh Freeze was brought to Auburn for this game.
Yeah.
Because he beat Nick Saban twice when he was with Ole Miss, and he was brought there to beat the Tide, win the Iron Bowl, get him back to SEC championship games and all this stuff. This line was at 14.5. It's the biggest bet I've made in college football all season. I would sprinkle a little money line as well. I do think Bama wins the game. I think it's going to be close. If this game was in Bryant-Denny, Bama would win by 4 touchdowns, no questions asked. They'd steamroll them. But at Jordan-Hare, it's a different animal. It's a different ball game. We all do it. Like, don't you watch sports and there are certain venues that just like almost intimidate you, like they scare you? And Jordan-Hare is always that way for me. Like, I watch that game and I'm like almost nervous for the players. I'm like, it's a terrifying place to play.
Yeah, the crowd's going to be electric. Like you said, they always struggle to play there. There's just something, it's like some black magic. And obviously, like, it's a big rivalry game.
Yep.
And that's why I'm with you. I'll go with the trend here. I'll go with the rivalry game. I'll go with it was more than 2 touchdowns. There was a 14.5 that was available. We're down to 13.5. 13.5. Like, if I'm playing Alabama, I want the 13.5, obviously. But at 14.5, I loved Auburn. I don't love it as much, but still, I could see this being a 1-score game. Auburn's a weird team, though. Like, if you look at them, they lost 4 games in the middle of the season to Texas A&M. They played Georgia really tough. They only lost to Georgia by 7 points. And remember, that was with the 2-quarterback system. And Peyton Thorne was using his legs in that game.
Yep.
They got blown out by LSU by at least 30, I believe. And then they lose to Ole Miss at home. But, they're just such a weird team, because then, like, last week, they lay a complete stinker. And I know a lot of people that actually like them. They were, 24.5-point favorites last week. A lot of people actually liked Auburn.
26.5.
And they got beat outright.
Yep.
But they can run the ball. And if they're able to eat clock against Alabama, like, I don't love the matchup. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to use their quarterback's legs and limit possessions. And that's going to be the only thing that I think keeps them in this game, though. Because the matchup I completely hate. Especially the way Alabama's playing right now offensively.
If you watch the teams play and just everything on paper, it tells you that Bama should win this game by 30 points. And all my friends are telling me that that's what's going to happen. And I'm like, you guys know how these games go in Jordan-Hare. You just know how they go. And Bama's going to have 3-4 turnovers. They're going to keep them in the game. I watched the highlights of that game from a couple years ago, the Iron Bowl, when Bryce let him down on that 99-yard drive.
Oh, yeah.
It could be one of those games where the offense just is completely out of sorts. It's a complete train wreck. Auburn has no offense, and they find a way to muck it up and keep it up.
It is crazy, though. So, 2005, you said it, Alabama 2-7 against the spread in Jordan-Hare. They've lost 5 of those 9 games outright. And then they have a 2 and a 5-point win as double-digit favorites. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a close game, unless Alabama's just for real.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're a different team now in the second half. We got Georgia coming up next week. Let's send a message. That's the other thing. Like, how much do you really want to show in this game? You already have your set matchup, and it's Nick Saban going against Kirby. And Saban hasn't beat Kirby in a couple of years now. And he really wants that one.
Yeah, he sure does.
Yeah.
A lot of Buckeye love, Ryan. A lot of people like Ohio State. in this spot. So what are your thoughts on Ohio State, Michigan?
All right, so that's when we came in, I asked you about this game because I'm going back and forth now where I feel like I have it and it's too good to be true. I bet the game of the year, like you said, now at times this season, I thought we were going to get out to a full touchdown. Ohio State struggled on the offensive side of the ball to start the season. Then they had the win over Notre Dame. Turns out Notre Dame was a little bit overrated. Obviously they have the win over Penn State. But I don't know, man. It's just like Ohio State doesn't look like your typical Ohio State offense, but defensively, for Jim Knowles, they've been really good. That's a top 10 defense. They could get after the quarterback. They could stop the run. The secondary is pretty dang good. So the defense has actually carried them at times. Now, though, they could run the ball. They still have Marvin Harrison, which even in the Notre Dame game, right? Like Kyle McCord was shaky. He struggled in that game. He actually should have been picked off on that final drive. Yep. Nobody talks about that. But when you have a guy like Marvin Harrison that could just go out there and make plays, you're always live, man. And I bet the pick, because that's what game of the year was. I actually have Michigan 1.5. But I don't know. I mean, Ohio State could go into the big house and beat Michigan. They're 8-3 in their last 11. No Jim Harbaugh. I know that he doesn't call plays. I know he doesn't call the defense. But that's a big loss. No Harbaugh on the sideline in a game like this. It doesn't matter against a team like Maryland, but it matters against a team like Ohio State. Like I said, with Ohio State now on the offensive side of the ball, you still have Marvin Harrison, a nightmare matchup. But now Travion Henderson has gotten going on the ground. 4 of his last 5 games, he's went over 100 yards. He's averaging 178 per game, over 5 yards per carry. I know he's going against this Michigan defense, but I don't know. What do you think about the total? Do you think this is going to be a higher scoring game, or do you think it's going to be like 17-13, lower scoring game?
I'm kind of leaning towards the over, actually.
See, me too.
Historically, this game has been like shootouts. Teams have gotten into the 40s, so... And the total is telling you that it might go over, too. It's gone from like 44, 45 to 46.5, so it's kind of creeping up. The weather is supposed to be good. I know the last couple of years in this game we've had some snow flurries, but it looks like we're not going to get any kind of precipitation, any wind, anything like that. The loser of this game tomorrow, Ohio State or Michigan, either of them, would you give them a chance at making the playoffs still? If it's an instant classic, 4 overtime, 2-point conversion, and somebody loses.
Not this year.
I agree.
Not this year.
Yeah,
That's why we have the expanded playoff next year.
Yep.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, but this year would have been perfect for the expanded playoff because there's so much parity in college football, and you can make the case for 12 to 14 teams. Whereas the last couple of years, even like last year with TCU, I mean, we were all on Georgia in the national title game. We knew what was going to happen on a neutral field, but I don't know. This year's a little bit different. I don't think there's a great team, but there's a bunch of good teams.
And doesn't it feel like the perception changes every week? Earlier in the year, we all thought Washington was the best team. Then we thought Michigan. Then maybe Oregon. Now everybody's like Georgia's the best team. Who knows how we'll feel after this week? Who people think the best team is? Michigan
wants you to think they're not the best team. That's the other. That's the thing with them. They don't need style points. So if you look at the game against Penn State, or you look at the game against Maryland, you know what I mean? They just do enough to win football games. Even in their non-conference games, they don't cover numbers because they're always 42-point favorites and they win 38-0.
Yeah,
it's almost like an unspoken agreement with the other team. Hey, we're going to punish you. We're going to beat you up, but then we're just going to run the ball in the second half. Let the clock run and get out of here. That'll look good for your boosters. You could cover the 42.5, but we're going to beat you up pretty good.
I want the Jets to get this Hail Mary so
I just still can't believe that Tim Boyle is starting a game in the National Football League. Tim Boyle, the only other memory I had of Tim Boyle was they used to bring him in when Green Bay was up big, 2-3 scores to take the knee, and he would try to always pick up a yard. Gain positive yardage to make the box score, and it almost started a fight as he does
Hail
get it
Mary?
into the. And now he gets picked.
Right now he gets picked, and now we got to worry about the Dolphins taking it the other way.
Oh no!
And oh no!
Oh my gosh!
He's across midfield. He's to the 40.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my God!
Somebody gonna hit him?
It's up to Big Game Boy. Oh my God! They got a pick six.
A pick six on a Hail Mary attempt. Have you ever seen that?
I've never seen that. I've never seen that.
Tim Boyle just threw an interception on a Hail Mary attempt.
And that just cashed the first half over. We were talking about Jets money line. That just got you the first half over if you took that.
I can't believe what I will.
Do you know, can I tell you seriously, before the show started, I went down the road to BetMGM Sportsbook next to Nationals Park. Guy in front of me told the teller he wanted the first half under 20.5.
Oh.
Ryan, oh my God. I feel for that guy. I feel for that guy so bad.